in regards to what's happening with e-commerce, given the fact that everybody seems to be moving on. Today there was news about JioMart and the WhatsApp, so what is the space like? Why don't you explain that to us?
So see, if you look at the overall Indian retail market today, the overall market is roughly about 850 to $900 billion total retail in India. From that, e-commerce is only about has been only about 3% so far, with 88% being for general trade, your what we call your mom and pop kirana trade, and about 7 to 8% was modern retail. Now, pre-COVID, our expectation was that this business, the e-commerce, would double in the next 3 to 5 years to roughly 6.5%, 7%. Modern retail would go from about 8% to about 16, 17%. And then so they would all, while the overall retail would grow from about $900 billion to about $1.2 trillion, eventually reaching $1.7 trillion by 2026. E-commerce would roughly take up about 7 to 8%, maybe 10% in the next 5 to 7 years. Now, obviously, as you're aware, and whatever is going on with COVID, obviously the lockdowns and these continuous lockdowns and the fear in consumers' minds about going to stores. I was just in the market right now doing some purchases. I had to send a courier out, and so the markets are bustling, the high streets, but still you don't get that sort of a feel where people are really out. And so what's happened is that I think just comparing it quickly to the Western markets, if I look at UK, if I look at Europe, if I look at China, even Korea, all those countries were opening up when the infections were at the lowest rate. We are opening up at the time when the infections are at the highest rate, and every day we are at the highest rate. So the consumers are seeing this, and normally I think Indians are quite, are not so risk averse. They would be out the first thing if things were a bit normal as well. But given this whole fear, so that we are actually not seeing footfalls return. All the retailers I'm talking to, the offline retailers, in the last 1 month, footfalls are at about 20-25% of pre-COVID or last year June and July numbers. So this is offline retail. So even high streets, malls, as it is, it may be even more difficult right now. Very few people are going. High streets, people at least feel comfortable. They go in quickly, buy what they need, come out. Mall, you have to go through the whole parking system, and so I think you are there longer. Probably malls are more sanitized in some respects, but in consumers' mind, mall means you're going into an air-conditioned environment, and there is all of that fear. So I think that's all of that is pushing all the business towards the e-commerce players. And e-commerce players, based on whatever numbers, and we are still waiting for the June numbers to come out in terms of what these companies are saying. But I mean, these could be at 80% upwards of pre-COVID levels, right? So now we think that e-commerce may be as much as 10% by the next year itself, as against going by only maybe going from 3% to 4 or 5%. E-commerce may double or more than double to 7, 8, 10% next year, given that this is becoming a very prolonged affair. So I think that's really the whole play, right? So other than high streets, it's basically all e-commerce which is driving a lot of that.
So even the smaller stores, or maybe even when we look at the kirana stores, for instance, even they'll want to move online, and they'll also want to move onto e-commerce super fast, and they'll be adopting it as well.
So I think that's still going to be a journey, because remember, they don't even have POS machines right now. So for them to move to e-commerce is still going to be a stretch, because the purpose of e-commerce is to have inventory at the back. If I want something from a particular kirana, I need to be able to see whether he has that product in his stock or not. So he doesn't have the backup systems, the technology to do that right now. Having said that, many companies are partnering with kiranas today to launch their own local apps, so that if I'm living here and I have a kiranas which are 100 meters or 200 meters from my house, or a half a kilometer, I should be able to see on app what that person has. I should be able to order it, and I should. But the good thing with kiranas is that most consumers already have their phone numbers. Those guys already home deliver for you in any case. And if so, I think kiranas already have a very good system in place. But I think you are absolutely right. The next level is for kiranas to get the next level of modernization. At least the better kiranas, the more evolved kiranas, who have got some level of technology already there, who've got a POS machine, who have got a ERP system in place, they are at least at the point where they can start now to develop apps or partner with some large companies who are developing apps and say, okay, we will do the last mile delivery for you. Any customer who wants it can sit at home and order the product. I'll deliver it to you. Or they are partnering with other platforms, those Zomato, Swiggy's. Like I have a few bakery stores next to my house, and while they don't have their app, they said, no, you can just order from Zomato and Swiggy and we'll still deliver it to you. So there are all kinds of models emerging as a result of this. New partnerships are emerging between Kiranas and other brands, and also many e-commerce companies are using Kiranas as the last mile drop. So if I order something from an e-commerce platform, they may be able to drop it next to my next door, and I can go and pick it up from there. So there are lots of new models emerging on that.
So, during the last 3 months or so, what, according to you, have been the, key challenges faced by stores in regards to e-commerce or by e-commerce as in the last 3 months?
Well, the last 3 months, the first was that in the first month of lockdown, no e-commerce companies were even allowed to deliver, right? Yeah. And then many places went into clampdown. They wouldn't let e-commerce delivery boys come in. As late as, or as early as about a month ago, even in our locality or wherever, many localities in Delhi or many developments, e-commerce people were not, the delivery people were not being allowed to deliver. They could maybe deliver up to the gate, but not into the homes. They couldn't come inside because they can also bring contamination, right? If you're worried about the spread of the disease, then that's obviously a big worry. So that was one. Second was supply chains were very badly disrupted. Companies couldn't make product, right? Today, obviously, majority of e-commerce is non-FMCG, because FMCG is obviously the most difficult category for e-commerce companies to do because of the value. The average bill value is very less. The product value can be less. If I order one shampoo or one soap, it's very difficult for an e-commerce company to deliver that. So you've got to have certain traction. So one was that many of these FMCG companies that were delivering into e-commerce platforms, they were struggling with their manufacturing. A lot of their plants were under lock and key or under basically in contamination zones. They couldn't operate. Their distribution systems were disrupted. Their freight forwarders were not there. They couldn't. They had challenges around payment gateways. So all these challenges were there. And as a result, and many categories were not even allowed to be distributed by e-commerce companies. Even electronics and apparel and all were not allowed. It's only for the last 1 month that they've been opened up and they can deliver across all categories. So I think all of those challenges meant that even the e-commerce players who could not deliver, could not do, whatever they could have done. Obviously they had their own challenges of delivery people, and a lot of the labor had gone away, and a lot of their sort of the distribution locations were not working. So the entire distribution system was disrupted, right, from a people perspective, manufacturing perspective, and logistics perspective. But I think most of that has come back now, barring a few lockdowns here and there, where obviously it will continue to be a challenge. So all that's coming back. And what we are seeing is that most FMCG companies that we are talking to are almost at 80-90% of their pre-COVID volumes. And many feel that by end of July, they will be at 100%. Still below their target for this year, because this year's target may have been 20% higher, but at least they are at pre-COVID levels. So I think they're getting there, but the challenges are still there around distribution, around availability of product, around making sure that the supply is on time with them. So even when I'm ordering a lot of products right now, I was trying to send some products to my parents in Jammu. A lot of products are not available to be delivered in their delivery code. So I'm sure there are still challenges around the delivery. I was just give you an example. I was just gone to send a courier, and even couriers are not going to various locations. And the courier company is telling me, no, if only if it's a very urgent, essential courier, and normally if the price is 300, they are charging 1,000 rupees. So I think there is a lot of cost which is there today, which is COVID cost of getting some of this cleansing done, the sanitization done. All of that is also having a big impact. I was talking to some e-commerce companies, and their cost of distribution, both for FMCG companies and for e-commerce companies, have really gone up today because of the extra level of sanitization they need to do, the cleanliness, the hygiene factors they have to have, the tracking of that, the tracking of the people's body temperatures. All that is having a huge impact. So, but the positive side is we are getting product now. Good thing is that during the entire lockdown, at least the essentials were available mostly everywhere. So at least from that perspective, the companies did a great job of making product available for most consumers, even in our neighborhoods. All the people I've talked to, there have not been too many shortages of essential products. So which is a fantastic work that the government and these companies did during the lockdown to make sure that essentials were available.
Yeah.
But I think now we need to move beyond essentials to apparel and accessories and all the fun things. And that's an important element as well. So we are hoping that from that we will start to see that.
So now, in regards to the future, could you tell me what is it going to be like? What should businesses keep in mind? Certain aspects that you would like to sort of highlight for what's coming in the near future. And once this COVID scare sort of settles down a little bit, it's going to be there for a while, but when it sort of settles down, what is it going to be like? And what should companies and businesses keep in mind when they're, sort of embracing e-commerce?
So I think there are a few factors, right? Clearly, this is happening now for a long time. Initially, we thought it's a 1 or 2 month thing, and people will go back to normal life, right? But now this is now becoming 4th month. We are looking at maybe 5-6 months when we will be living like this in a sort of lockdown situation, semi-lockdown, no socializing, no entertaining. I've spoken to a lot of people who haven't still stepped out of their home for 4 months. I mean, this is unheard of because they live with elderly people or they live with very young kids. So I think they're very afraid to take the risk. So I think that there is an impact, and clearly our advice and what we are telling clients today and what we are working with clients today really around 3-4 areas. One is clearly for offline businesses that want to re-attract consumers to the shops, the apparel manufacturers, the accessory manufacturers, the electronics manufacturers, all the other categories where they want people to come in the QSRs. One is that clearly the health and hygiene element and the sanitation has to be really, really top of mind. They have to talk about it. They have to showcase it. They have to, show it through examples, be it their staff, be it the way so obviously even when these shops are going to open up, and as they're still only allowing certain number of customers to go in. So the footfalls are going to be low in any case for the next 3 to 6 months as the lockdown continues to open up and the unlocking continues to happen. So to that extent, the internal sort of hygiene methods, the way the overall, the talking about some of the hygiene factors. So we're telling our clients to talk about the air conditioning, the internal sanitation, the sanitization they're doing, all the sort of, mind the gap, the distancing they're doing. We have a solution called Mind the Gap that we are telling clients to follow. Clearly, that's a big play. Then the other part is that how do you start engaging with customers? Because customers will take time to come to you. So you have to find a way to go to them. So we are seeing the rise of what we call the direct to customer, the D2C, right? Which is that, okay, if the customer is not going to come in and if they are accessing me through my online platform, is my online platform good enough? So a lot of companies have their own websites, which they have sort of not prioritized for the last many years because they've been depending on platforms to some extent. And they were very comfortable by people walking into their stores, but now that's not happening. So a lot of our clients are immediately beefing up their websites, beefing up their own portals to drive more footfalls, to communicate better with their customers, to be able to start having a dialogue with their end customers, and also for customers who are ordering directly from their platforms or who may want to come into a store but then not carry the product, to do home delivery, click and collect and deliver. So lots of this area is where we are seeing our clients, retailers, really revamp their businesses and saying, if customers are not coming to me, how am I talking to the customers? Is my communication very clear? Am I sort of communicating all the stuff about my products to them, my new products, my product benefits? Those are the other 2 areas. Thirdly, the customers who have bought from me, how am I engaging with them after sale? So do I have a good online after sales system in place? Do I, in the past, this has been a big gap in our retail in India, is the after sales service. So I think now with customers not even being able to come to the stores, can I have a robust after sales mechanism where I'm communicating with them, where it's very seamless for the customers to be able to order, to be able to call in and say that I had a problem with my product. Can you return it? Can I exchange it? Can I get it fixed? I think all of those things need to be looked at very, very. So I think everything that we did from a shop, we have to really do that now online in a big way till the offline comes back. I think I'm a firm believer that once things go back to normal and once we are looking at the post-COVID scenario, shoppers will go back to shops because shopping is an experience. You go, you enjoy, you eat food, you it's an entertainment, and people will come back out. I think people will be also very frustrated sitting at home, so maybe they will come back out even stronger. We saw a bit of that when the markets first opened, what we call revenge buying and retaliatory buying. Now, I think obviously that's tapered off as people have got what they need and they've gone back to essentials. But when I talk to retailers, electronics are still seeing huge growth, 33x growth in vacuum cleaners, 31x growth in washing machines, a 1.5 times growth in trimmers. Overall, electronics have seen a 1.5 times growth on the various platforms. While some categories may see a decline because of seasonality, etc., but overall, electronics have seen very, very robust growth. Televisions, large size televisions, 75, 85-inch TV. We were having a conversation with a couple of some of the largest TV brands, and they have really sold a lot of very large TVs, which they would never have sold pre-COVID, because the sweet spot was whether it was 33 inches or 43 inches, but not the very large. But people are sitting at home, they want entertainment, so they are investing in that. Same with laptops, same with mobile phones and all. So I think some categories have seen a lot of traction, but the future really is about helping consumer on their journey, making sure that the consumer you are continuously in dialogue with. And I think this has actually, maybe in a crazy way, this has actually helped companies communicate better with customers, because in the past you just depended on your shopper to walk into your store and you didn't really have to make an effort. Now you have to really make an effort to go to the consumer, to your shopper, talk to them, explain to them about your product, start the D2C selling, start figuring out how you can get things delivered to their home. And all of that means that companies are really becoming very consumer centric. So I think in a way it's a very, very positive development from a retail perspective. And it'll be important for brands to continue to do that and build on it. But I think that's a very big change we are seeing.
And my last question to you, what
Sure.
are innovations that we can expect in the future?
So I think there are 2-3 types of innovations, right? One is the product innovation. One of the things we have clearly seen is that companies have reduced the number of new products they want to launch right now, because there is a real issue on media. How much do you spend? How do you communicate? So many of the new product launches may have been pushed back, and companies have gone back to making sure that the basics are available. So that at some point, the new products are going to be back in the funnel, and maybe maybe leading up to Diwali, if markets have started opening up, we will see a lot of new product innovations and launches at that time. Clearly, one is that. Secondly, we are seeing a big twist and a big pivot towards health, nutrition, hygiene, anything around basically, keeping you safe and healthy. So companies are bringing out lots of products that they may have thought about they would bring out later on, whether it's your home cleaning, whether it's cleaning your tables, whether it's cleaning your furniture, whether it's products you put on yourself. All of these products are trying to talk about the health benefit, the nutrition benefit, and that. So clearly we'll see a lot more innovation in that space. And in a way, it's great because it also links in very nicely to the overall pollution and all the impact we've had in the last 1.5, 2 years. I mean, what happened in Delhi, Mumbai, with lots of challenges around air quality. And I think a lot of these products which were in the pipeline have just been brought forward by companies and launched out. So in a way, that's great. And I think thirdly, we are seeing a lot of innovation in distribution models. We are seeing FMCG companies tie up with food delivery companies, tie up with fintech companies. You're seeing a lot of innovative models about getting product to end consumers. You're seeing stores on wheels. We're talking to some apparel manufacturers to say how can they get their apparel to localities. Forget about people coming to your shop. Take the shop to their homes. Same with cosmetic companies. Take the beauty parlor to people's homes. Bring in vans where people can get makeovers done hygienically. Bring in that. Already we are seeing a lot of home delivery of services. And I think my sense is that'll be a good innovation again, which is going to continue. But again, you have to be careful that many of these may fall back, especially these delivery models, etc. If they are not profitable, people will go back to the original model once the markets open up. But if these models can become sustainable, if they are profitable, if they are not prohibitively expensive, right now companies are not looking at expenses and just taking whatever it takes to get product to end consumer. But at some point, that has to stop. So some of these, models may fall back, but we are seeing lots of innovative models come up. So I think that these are the 2-3 areas where we are seeing, and obviously technology is driving a lot of that. This whole play around, investments in these large platforms that we've seen in the last 1 month is all about innovation and technology-driven innovation, of getting products to end consumers. So that's where I think a lot of the action is going to be.
Great. So thank you for your time and thank you for speaking with me.